A single penguin walks away from its entire colony, moving alone toward a frozen mountain range with no companion, no destination, and no way back. When this clip surfaced on social media, it left millions of viewers with tears in their eyes. Some called it depression. Some said it looked like a broken heart. And others insisted that this animal was feeling something deeply human. But the real story behind this moment is far stranger and far more powerful than anything the internet imagined. This is not a recent event at all, but a scene from a documentary that is almost 2 decades old, one that the world is only now beginning to misread. Once you know the full truth, you will never look at penguins the same way again. This scene comes from the 2007 documentary, Encounters at the End of the World, made by the celebrated German filmmaker, Werner Herzog. When it was first released, only a small audience watched it, and it slowly faded from memory. But 2 decades later, a short clip from this very film exploded across social media and left the internet with one burning question. How could a healthy, living penguin turn its back on its colony and on the ocean that fed it and walk instead towards certain death? That single unanswered question is exactly what breathed new life into this old, forgotten footage.
The clip shows an Adélie penguin breaking away from its group and heading not toward the sea, but deep into the icy mountains of Antarctica. To understand why this matters, you need to know that the ocean is everything for these birds. It is where their food comes from, and it is where their entire existence is anchored. Yet this lone penguin was leaving behind every chance of survival, walking straight into a region where there is no food and no hope of staying alive for hundreds of kilometers. Watching this unfold, everyone who saw the clip asked the same haunting question. What could possibly be going on inside this creature's?
Before we can answer that question, we first need to understand why penguins choose to live in one of the most brutal places on Earth in the first place. Antarctica is a continent where nature has left almost no room for survival. It holds the record for being the coldest and windiest place on the planet, where hurricane-force winds combine with temperatures that can plunge to minus 90 degrees Celsius. If a human being were exposed here without proper protection, their body would begin to freeze within seconds. Even a glass of boiling water thrown into the air here will turn to ice before it ever touches the ground. So the real question becomes, why would any creature choose this deadly cold as its permanent home? The answer lies in a delicate balance between danger and safety that most people never think about. The land of Antarctica may be barren and lifeless, but the ocean surrounding it is bursting with food. Tiny shrimp-like creatures exist here in such enormous numbers that they form an endless buffet for penguins. But the real reason penguins stay has less to do with food and everything to do with protection, because these birds can neither run fast nor fly, which would make them. In any warmer climate, predators would hunt down these penguins and their eggs without mercy. But Antarctica's punishing cold is so extreme that no other predator can survive here, and this brutal weather becomes the greatest shield penguins could ever ask for. Nature has equipped them well for this fight too. Beneath their skin lies a thick layer of fat called blubber, And their feathers are so densely packed that freezing winds simply cannot reach their bodies. But nature never gives anything away for free, and every single year, these penguins must face death head on just to earn the right to keep living. And that yearly Antarctica is home to 5 distinct species of penguins, and each one carries its own unique identity. The largest and tallest among them is the emperor penguin, known for its impressive size and towering height compared to its relatives. Next comes the chinstrap penguin, easily recognized by the thin black line running beneath its chin like a strap. The third species is the gentoo penguin, identified by its bright orange beak and the white patch stretched across the top of its head. Then there are macaroni penguins, famous for the flashy yellow feathers sprouting from their heads. And finally, there is the very species seen in the viral video, the Adélie penguin, distinguished by the striking white ring circling its eyes.
Almost everywhere else on Earth, when winter arrives, animals migrate toward warmth for survival. In Antarctica, the exact opposite happens. Most penguin species actually move away from the ocean when it is time to breed. And there is a very clear reason behind this strange behavior. Staying too close to the sea exposes their eggs to leopard seals, killer whales, and predatory birds, all of which see penguin eggs as an easy meal. On top of that, strong winds and crashing waves near the coastline can easily sweep fragile eggs away. So moving inland becomes a necessary act of protection rather than a strange choice. Emperor penguins stand apart from every other species because they are the only ones who travel deeper into the freezing mountains, specifically during the harshest part of winter. And they do it purely to breed and continue their bloodline. Every year, around the months of May and June, when winter truly sets in, these penguins abandon the comfort of the ocean and begin an extraordinary journey, traveling together in massive groups, numbering in the millions. Their destination is the very breeding colony where they themselves were born, a location that lies roughly 100 kilometers away from the sea. This journey is so physically demanding that their bodies begin burning through energy reserves at an alarming rate. Throughout this entire journey, and even after finally reaching their destination, these penguins have absolutely nothing to eat. Once they arrive at the breeding colony, the next challenge begins: choosing a life partner. And this process is nothing short of dramatic. Male penguins attempt to win over females by making strange calls, puffing out their chests, and moving their necks up and down in a display that almost looks like a choreographed dance. The healthiest and strongest looking males are usually chosen first. After pairing up, the female lays just a single egg. And by this point, she is already completely drained of energy and strength. What makes this even more remarkable is that these penguins have not eaten anything for nearly 2 months by this stage. Whatever small amount of food they consumed before leaving the ocean is the only fuel powering this entire exhausting journey and process. This sacrifice exists purely to give their species a chance to survive and continue. And that alone makes the story deeply moving. But the biggest sacrifice is still ahead. And surprisingly, it does not belong to the mother. It belongs to the father, whose burden turns out to be even heavier than hers. Right after laying the egg, the female very carefully transfers it onto her partner's feet,
without ever letting it touch the freezing ice below. Once the transfer is complete, all the females head back toward the ocean together to finally feed themselves after months of starvation. Meanwhile, the males, who have already gone without food for 2 full months, huddle closely together, balancing the fragile egg on their feet while sharing whatever warmth they can generate as a group. Just imagine, for the next 2 months, these fathers stand completely still through violent blizzards in temperatures reaching minus 60 degrees Celsius without a single bite of food. They remain frozen in place, almost motionless, purely to make sure the egg never touches the ice and never freezes solid. By the time the mothers finally return, the fathers have typically lost more than half of their original body weight from sheer starvation. In most cases, the mothers make it back before the chick even hatches, but occasionally there are delays. And if the egg hatches before she returns, the father produces a special nutrient-rich secretion from his throat to feed the newborn chick. This is quite literally the last of his remaining energy, given away without any hesitation, even at the risk of his own life. When the mother finally returns, she recognizes her partner and her chick through a unique call, distinguishing them from thousands of other penguins in the massive crowd. She then takes over responsibility for the egg or the newly hatched chick, and the exhausted, starving fathers finally begin their long walk back to the ocean to save themselves after everything they have endured. This is exactly why emperor penguins are widely regarded as some of the most devoted parents in the animal kingdom, willing to risk everything without complaint just to protect the next generation. But does every single penguin behave with this same level of selflessness? The answer, quite surprisingly, is no. Now, let's turn to the Adélie penguin, the very species featured in that viral video. While emperor penguins are celebrated for their extraordinary sacrifice, Adélie penguins have earned a completely different reputation as the most mischievous and cunning birds in all of Antarctica. Their behavior is nothing like that of the emperor penguin, and one of their most fascinating habits is the way they build their nests. Since there is no grass or straw available on the ice, Adélie penguins build their nests using small stones instead, and the male who constructs the best-looking nest dramatically improves his chances of being chosen by a female. In their world, a single stone can hold as much value as a precious gem. What makes this even more entertaining is that instead of putting in honest effort to collect stones, many males take the far easier route of simply stealing them. When a neighboring penguin happens to look away for even a moment, a sneaky male will quietly slip over, grab a stone from that nest, and add it straight to his own. Some of these penguins spend an entire day fighting over nothing more than a single stone. This constant bickering and scheming reveals just how social, chaotic, and endlessly active these particular penguins really are. Despite all this playful chaos, the family structure among Adélie penguins is actually far more balanced than that of emperor penguins. Here, the father never has to endure starvation alone because both parents take turns in carefully organized shifts to guard the egg. While one heads off to feed at sea, the other stays behind to protect the nest. Their breeding colonies also sit much closer to the coast compared to emperor penguins, though they still need to travel around 50 kilometers inland to reach safety. Understanding this background makes the central mystery of the viral video even more puzzling and difficult to explain. The real question becomes this: why would such a social, clever creature, one that keeps precise track of every single stone, suddenly abandon everything and wander straight toward death? When filmmaker Werner Herzog witnessed this moment with his own eyes, he was reportedly stunned by what he saw. He watched as one penguin suddenly separated from the rest of the group and began walking in the completely opposite direction from the ocean. Scientists have described this strange behavior as a kind of psychological breakdown, because whether it happens to humans or animals, sometimes the brain's internal wiring simply gets crossed.
Penguins actually carry a built-in natural navigation system inside their brains that functions almost like an internal compass. According to researchers, these birds can sense the Earth's magnetic field while swimming through the ocean, using it much like a directional guide. Beyond that, they also rely on the position of the sun, the location of stars, the flow of ocean currents, and even distinct smells to keep track of the correct direction home. When they travel hundreds of kilometers back toward their colony, their brain combines all of these different signals together to guide them along the right path. But this remarkable internal system is not always perfect, and it can fail. Sometimes, due to a brain infection, a parasite, or simply overwhelming stress and prolonged starvation, this internal navigation system can malfunction entirely. When that happens, the penguin no longer recognizes its companions or the ocean right in front of it, and instead, a completely wrong direction becomes permanently fixed inside its mind. This is the exact moment when an otherwise perfectly ordinary-looking animal suddenly begins walking toward its own death, with no awareness of what is actually happening to it. But beyond this scientific explanation lies another, more emotional question, one that asks whether animals are truly capable of feeling grief. Science actually answers this question with a yes. When a penguin chick dies in the harsh Antarctic cold, its parents do not simply walk away and move on. Instead, they stand beside their dead chick, making strange, mournful sounds that clearly reflect distress. In some cases, this grief becomes so overwhelming that these parents attempt to steal chicks belonging to other penguins, perhaps in a desperate attempt to fill the emptiness they are feeling inside. So, is it possible that the penguin in the viral video had recently lost someone close to it, and that this very loss is what sent it wandering off course? Science tends to label this entire behavior as a form of neurological malfunction. But everyone who watched this clip felt that the penguin looked like it was suffering from some kind of deep emotional distress or heartbreak. Interestingly, when Werner Herzog captured this exact moment on camera, he made absolutely no attempt to rescue or intervene with the wandering penguin. This is because Antarctica operates under a strict rule, stating that no human being is allowed to interfere with the natural course of events, no matter how heartbreaking the scene unfolding in front of them might be. That lone penguin continued walking steadily toward the frozen mountains until it eventually disappeared completely from the camera's view. Beyond that point stretched thousands of kilometers of nothing but ice-covered mountains, with no fish and not even a drop of water anywhere in sight. It is almost certain that this penguin, broken down by hunger and exhaustion, eventually collapsed somewhere in the endless snow and was buried forever beneath it. This ending may feel deeply tragic,
but it also reminds us of nature's unspoken rule, where every living creature ultimately chooses its own path, whether that path leads toward life or toward death. In this single story, we find two completely different pictures of penguin life sitting side by side. On one hand, there is the emperor penguin, willing to risk everything, including its own life, simply to protect a new generation without ever complaining about the cost. On the other hand, there is that lost, wandering traveler who left everything behind to walk toward an unknown destination, likely because something inside its own mind had quietly broken. Together, these two stories teach us that both survival and loss are equally real parts of nature, and that every living creature fights its own private battle, one that we as outsiders can never fully understand. Whether human or animal, some things happen for reasons beyond explanation, and perhaps that uncomfortable truth is one of life's most honest lessons.